watching and listening to Breakfast with Stephen and Anne.
Let's take a look at today's front pages. Wish you weren't here, jokes the Daily Mail, as a 7-hour gridlock at Dover ruined the start to many families' holidays yesterday.
The Star also focuses on the travel bedlam. Are we nearly there yet, it asks? No, is the answer.
Foreign Secretary Liz Truss has told the French to fix the chaos at Dover, as the port chief warns it could last all summer.
Meanwhile, Britain is facing a national emergency, says Rishi Sunak cheerily. The Conservative leadership hopeful is warning of crises affecting the economy, the NHS and illegal immigration.
And The Guardian is warning that Liz Truss's deadline to scrap all remaining EU regulations could bring a bonfire of rights.
Liz Truss's tax cuts could mean Britain's face interest rates of up to 7%, according to her economy guru. That, according to the Times, could mean we'd all face about £700 a month more on our mortgages.
But voters backed Liz Truss to beat Keir Starmer in a general election. That's according to the Daily Express. A poll last night gave her the edge over the Labour leader as to who would make the best Prime Minister. A couple of years' time, I guess.
Yeah. They're not going to be no snap election.
No.
Can't see that going. Time to go through the papers now in a bit more detail with former editor of The Star, Dawn Neeson, and the deputy editor of Spiked Online, Fraser Myers. Morning to you both.
Morning.
Let's kick off. We're going to change tack a little bit in a lot of this and look at some different stories, which is nice. What I like, the Mail looking at horror films.
We have delved between the sheets for you, Stephen.
Excellent.
We've found some stories that are actually quite good fun, I think. So, anyways, this is in the Mail. I haven't seen it anywhere else, so it's page 39 of the Mail, so I'm going to go back a long way, which tells you about the papers this morning. Horror films are just as cuddly as the rest of us. Now, I picked this one because I like horror films, obviously. So basically, it's quite complicated. A study in Denmark has put to the test whether what film you like makes you a better or a worse person, okay? That's the nub of it. So 201 participants asked to view profiles including favourite film genre, then asked how compassionate they were. Horror fans were viewed very negatively. We're not cuddly, we're not compassionate. Then another group of people, bear with me, another group of people asked to rate how much they enjoyed the subgenre of horror, like slasher movies, psychological thrillers, etc., etc. They then completed an empathy test which proved that horror fans, this is the point, horror fans actually scored equally on empathy and kindness tests, or even better.
Right.
So the long and the short of the story, which is very complicated, I know, is that if you like horror, you are actually a very nice, kind, compassionate person.
Right.
There you go. That's me.
That can't be true, can it?
Oh, Anne, how are we doing?
Have you seen some of these slasher movie things?
Well, it depends on the subgenre, as they put it. I mean,
I'd worry about anyone who was sort of addicted to those, wouldn't you?
well, I was working and I sort of like late as I always do, and I actually sort of like started watching the whole Hostel. Don't go there. It's a torture genre. I sat up all night watching them, and then the husband got up and he goes, "What on earth are you watching?"
No.
Everyone has a dark side of them, don't they? Especially the cuddly people. They're the ones.
Yeah, see. But I prefer the sort of like, things like American Werewolf in London. It's something that's got a bit of humour to it as well.
Yeah, no.
What does it say about people who like whodunits? Because I like whodunit.
It's a bit weird. Sorry, Anne.
Sure it doesn't.
No, I'm not a horror fan. I did once watch, because it just happened to be on, The Human Centipede.
Oh, that is.
And I honestly dreamt about it for weeks
That is a
afterwards.
bit
It was
weird.
so disturbing.
There's another one though. You can watch the follow-on. Really
I think there's multiple. All these horror films end up having like 4 or 5 sequels.
Yeah, they spin
each
off.
more gruesome.
The original Friday the 13th was brilliant, but now we're up to the 13th Friday the 13th. They get worse.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's me. Okay.
Oh, well,
It was an interesting one. Thank you for that.
You're entitled to your free speech.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
What's happening to free speech in the Express then?
There's a small victory for free speech in that the police have essentially been told they should stop investigating people for online debates, for people being rude to each other on the internet. There's this whole category of, I want to call it crime, but it's non-crime. There's a thing called a non-crime hate incident, which can be recorded against your name. And previously, it used to be the case, for years it was the case, that essentially if you said or did something that someone took to be racist, sexist, transphobic, etc., you could be reported to the police and you'd have a kind of black mark against your name. It would even show up on a enhanced DBS check, so it could have real implications for kind of employment prospects, and you wouldn't necessarily even know that this has been marked against your name. Someone wouldn't need to provide evidence that you'd done the thing, or that you had intended to be racist, sexist, etc., etc.
How do you then draw the line? This is what would concern me slightly. How do you draw the line between what is a non-crime comment towards something which then becomes a criminal offence? Because you can cause criminal offence, be it by what you say online.
I think that I think we have to be, I think we should be as absolutist as possible and let people say as much as possible. When you get into the range of, threats, things like that, it's unacceptable. Harassment is unacceptable. But when you're just expressing...
Trolling isn't.
And, well, if you're really harassing someone to the point of, causing them distress, as opposed to, what shouldn't be criminalised is people's opinions, even if they have horrible opinions that we would all find disgusting and distasteful. That should not be a police matter. That's for the rest of us online to push back and say, hang on, you're wrong here. You're wrong about this.
No, I mean, I think it's right. I think it's right. But there are some horrible things said online. But I think the answer to that is get offline.
Yeah, exactly. And some of the cases, and not all of these cases were online, and some of them are, beyond absurd. There were people logged for non-crime hate incidents because their dog had pooed on someone's lawn and it was taken, taken
Anyone
the wrong
can say
way.
anything as well, can't they, about you? And it's like, that is on your record.
Yeah.
Future employees are checking you out, and employers, and they see that. It's like, it's really...
There was an electrician who was, at a client's house. They had a bit of a row. The client threw a steaming hot mug of tea in his face, and he said, "I can never work again with someone like you." And she took that "someone like you" to be a kind of racial remark, and reported it to the police, and he found out that
she threw a hot tea in his face.
He reported that to the police. They did nothing. She reported the "someone like you" comment. He's got this non-crime hate incident tagged on his name. But this is changing, or it should be changing. We've heard a million times from the police that they're going to stop this practice. Now the guidance has changed. Hopefully it will stop for real.
Yeah, and give the police something, a bit more time on them.
They have other things to worry about.
Yeah, exactly. Gosh.
In the Telegraph sports section, looking at rugby, the trans issue.
It's kind of linked, obviously, given the stick that so many women, like J.K. Rowling in particular, have got for talking about being a woman, and that makes her transphobic. In any case, that's not what this is about. This is the sensible side of this debate. The Rugby Football Union has recommended that its council vote to ban trans people assigned male at birth from female contact rugby in a bid to prioritise fairness of competition and the safety of the players, basically, is the bottom line in this one. So
rugby is a pretty violent sport anyway.
Absolutely.
Causes unbelievable stress on the NHS, actually, isn't it? But the idea of somebody who was born male and has therefore got those...
has gone through male puberty and has got the size.
Is probably bigger, stronger in lots of ways, playing the female sport.
But contact rugby, isn't that the non-tackling sort?
No, it's the one where you can tackle people, isn't it?
I'm
a football fan, obviously I don't really understand rugby, but I mean, all rugby pretty much seems pretty...
How many trans rugby players are there?
Well, even if there's one and a female player gets injured, assigned female at birth, obviously, gets injured, then that is a problem, isn't it, surely? But the same doesn't work in reverse, because trans men who are assigned female at birth, keep up at the back, can play in men's teams. So if you are born female, born a woman, you can go on, change gender and then play for a men's side, but you have to sign a disclaimer saying that if you get...
But there's a reason, yes, exactly, there's a reason for that, is that somebody who's been through puberty as a female is going to be, forgive me, but is going to be smaller and not quite as strong, not as physically able, or not in the same way as somebody who went through as a male. And so somewhere along the line, you've got to keep it fair, haven't you?
I think, you've got to be able to make these distinctions, even if it feels impolite, even if it a lot of people want to be compassionate about this issue, but sport is somewhere where biology really counts for something, and that can't be overridden, especially where women's safety is concerned. This isn't just about fairness anymore. This is about stopping people's skulls from being cracked
like
and all that.
boxing, for example. I mean,
Yeah.
if a trans woman fighting a assigned birth woman, God.
It happens in mixed martial arts. There's a
Well, I
Assigned
the problem with this is I think it opens up an easy bandwagon to jump on, which is why there's a very big issue towards trans women, so women who were born male and become female. Whereas no one bats an eyelid about the other way around. Trans men who are born female and become male, no one cares about them. No one's saying, there are issues here, there are safety issues, there are body issues. It's only the other way around. It's because society finds it very difficult to get their head around.
And it's a much smaller minority as well.
There's
No, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. There are, but and obviously, as Fraser said, everybody wants fairness. But I think where safety is an issue, then it's an issue that does need to be tackled. No pun intended, because it's rugby. But I mean, it's not gone through yet. There is a move to actually put it in place, but it hasn't happened yet.
But the whole sporting industry, as it were, the sporting world, is discussing this now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think, as you said, with all compassion, of trying to make the right decisions, but they're very sensitive decisions, aren't they? Of course.
They're very, of course.
Fraser, Northern Ireland Protocol.
So the European Union has slapped Britain with 4 lawsuits for not keeping up its end of the Northern Ireland Protocol bargain, and partly this is to do with this law that we brought in to do with the Northern Ireland Protocol.
What should Britain say to the EU on this one, Dawn?
I think this is an up yours to laws situation.
Don't talk the Northern Ireland Protocol. It's early on a Saturday morning.
We were talking about this at 5:30 this morning. We were being less than polite, weren't we?
It's slightly complicated. And let's face it, the EU slap regulations and sort of challenge laws and everything on all their own member countries. I think we're up to 7 now. We've got this latest 4 adds to the 7 we've already got.
We were talking about the speculation about whether the queues at Dover have something to do with Brexit, some kind of Brexit punishment. The Northern Ireland Protocol really is a punishment for Brexit. It turns Northern Ireland into basically an EU colony. We know that around 20% of all of the customs checks that the EU does happen in that border between Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And interestingly, funny enough, what's happened today is that you may have heard of there's an exclave called Kaliningrad, which is a part of Russia, which is on the border with Lithuania and Poland. And there was a big dispute because Lithuania was stopping certain goods from travelling in because they're sanctioned by the EU because they're Russian. Now it turns out the EU has relaxed its checks on sanctioned Russian goods, but is applying maximum pressure to essentially British goods travelling between Britain. It's like they care more about British sausages than they do about Russian gas and steel. So there is a clear case for the UK to say this isn't working for us. We need to scrap this.
Thank you, Fraser. That was really. I actually learned something there. Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to tell him to bob off.
Yeah.
Bob off. That's what I say. Dawn, thank you very much. Dawn and Fraser, we're out of time. You've got to bob off now.
Good story for you.
Yes, I saw that.
That may be a reason that we move on.
Yeah. It's on the rude side.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
Thank you.